Scoop.
This is Gary at Pop Scoop, and I'm here backstage at UEA at Norwich with Jack from The Natives. Hi Jack, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, so starting off last night, first night of the tour.
Yes.
How did it go?
It went really well, and especially well considering it was the first night of a tour. So there's always, I mean, there was a few little technical things that always rear their heads, but with us normally it's like massive technical things on the first night of tour. But it went pretty smooth, and everyone was very receptive and friendly. So
yeah, I was going to say, good atmosphere.
Really good atmosphere
to get started.
Yeah. You're never sure, like, well, it's a new thing supporting somebody like Busted. It's just so their own thing with a devoted fan base that like loves them. Yeah. So that you don't really know what to expect opening up for that. But yeah, it was brilliant.
And any sore heads this morning?
No, we're all right. Not too bad.
It's like the Monday night at school, I suppose. It's like, well, hang on, we've got the whole week to get through yet.
I think it was just like adrenaline fought off the hangover. I think if you asked me the same question in a few weeks' time,
it might be a bit different. Yeah. So, is this your first time in Norwich as well, playing Norwich or this area?
No, it's not. But it's definitely the biggest place we've ever played in Norwich. We've been here at the waterfront before,
right?
But we never played in here before.
And you're back again.
Yes,
May
on the 11th we're headlining.
And that's at the waterfront, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
we'll see you again then.
Yeah, awesome, excellent.
Yeah, we'll be back in there. So okay, so the set list tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got the new album. Yeah. Back from the Dead. That coming out. Is it a good mixture of old and new material? Or?
So we play, it's all new stuff in the set, because we figure that 99% of the audience, we're a new band to them. Yeah. So we want to give a representation of where we are now as a band.
Yeah.
If we are out headlining, when we are out headlining in May, then we will play stuff from the earlier album as well, because we thought that's fair as people have bought a ticket. But when it comes to this show, we've got an allocated amount of time.
I'm kind of thinking I'm really looking forward to This Island and some of the other.
Not tonight, unfortunately. No. We toured that album extensively as well, so I do feel like we gave it it got aired.
Yeah.
And now and also with that, there's quite a big difference between the two albums, so haven't figured out how to make them work in the same set yet.
Right.
So I imagine it's a similar issue to Busted have with
absolutely. It's what you're looking to showcase, I suppose, to some extent. Right. Okay. So you've been 5 years, is it? 5 years together now?
I don't know, something like that, yeah.
5 years from Not Advised.
That sounds about right.
Not Advised all the way through. What do you think the highlights are from that 5 years? What would you draw? I mean, for me, up there would definitely be the Peppers Festival, I would think. Philippines.
Yeah, that was pretty good, yeah. Do you know the thing that sticks out? I guess the big point, so we went to America to make our first album. That was amazing for us. But the biggest thing I think has been that we got to a point with this album where we completely done our own thing. We co-produced our own album. Yeah. We've done something just quite different, which is to please ourselves. We feel like our show represents us. Yeah. And the big highlight I think has been kind of that we've all those years of learning. Yeah. I feel like now we understand our own band, and I think that's
So you've got more. You feel as though you're having more of your identity.
Yeah. I just feel like this show we play tonight will be an honest representation of our band. Yeah. And that's really important, and it's very difficult to make music and to perform in such a way to try and not care what people think. Yes. Not in an arrogant way. It's not we hope people like us, but we kind of decided that we make the best music and art when we're just trying to please ourselves. Yeah. And so
it's natural. It's basically natural what's coming out. Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say within that time, obviously, because it's a long period of time. Yeah. How do you think you've evolved? What's kind of changed from?
I suppose that's just exactly what I'm saying. I guess is that we feel like for the first time ever in this cycle, we feel like we're just creating things for ourselves. Yeah. And it's interesting that it seems like whenever we do that, people actually seem to react to it more.
Yes.
Not that we before what will people like, but we maybe were aware of people's opinions on things, whereas we were much more kind of.
I think when things are more natural, certainly from my experience, that's when you connect with people. It's a natural process as opposed to trying to think what they would like. Yeah. And so it becomes a bit predetermined, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest change, is we're very just comfortable in our own skin and we know what our band's about.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing I was going to say, with obviously that that time. How do you feel the songwriting? Has that changed the process?
Yeah, completely. So when in our old band and in the start of like Natives, we were the kind of band that got together as a band, jammed in a room and wrote songs, you know, all playing together in a room.
Yeah.
Which was great. But with this album, it's not that at all. It's much more of a studio project. We've never played these songs live before we went on tour, so we see it more as sort of composing soundtracks and kind of soundscaping stuff rather than, you know, so we feel like we wrote a musical rather than just wrote pop songs in a practice room, and that completely different way of writing.
I was going to say, obviously with that initial takeoff, if you like, with John Felderman.
Yeah. That
when
was
you
the
went
first
over.
album,
how much did he actually shape?
Yeah.
How that first album came out, when Indoor War came out, how much of that dynamic anthem
it's interesting
sound came?
Yeah, I mean, the production is very John Feldman, so I guess sonically it's that. I think he had the biggest effect on us after the album, which might sound strange, just because when we went out there, it was a bit of a culture shock in the US and particularly in LA.
Yeah.
There's this writing and recording culture, which is very different to the way like rock bands work in the UK.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was very unnerving having all these people involved and much more free flowing between people who aren't in the band and are in the band.
Yeah.
And at the time, we weren't very comfortable with that, but we sort of persevered and made that album. And then in hindsight, after that, because we've been through such a sort of jarring experience as writers, when it came, like we were kind of just open to anything.
Yeah.
And then so it gave us a freedom that I didn't realise we were getting at the time to make the album afterwards. So in a way, it affected the new album more than it did the first one.
Yeah, because you've had that experience now, and you've seen. If anything, I suppose, do you feel that then that's kind of reassured what you probably instinctively thought?
Yeah, maybe.
To begin with.
I mean, the thing about the first album as well is that John Feldman was our hero. Like he's like, you know, Goldfinger were like Jim, our singer's favourite band. Like John's like was our favourite producer when we were growing up.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to not have a certain effect on how things sound when you're working with your dream producer. It's going to be a different thing to when you're, you know, making something on your own.
Yeah.
Two very different, but both enjoyable things.
Okay, so do you think then that you prefer playing live to working in the studio, or are they two? Are you actually designing the music, if you like, to suit both?
No, we actually intentionally do the opposite. So when we are writing music, we don't think about how we would play it, because we feel like it will compromise. You know, a recording is something that's to be listened to from a recording, and a live show is something to be experienced in the flesh.
Absolutely.
And I feel like when you try and please both, you end up with a substandard, non-energetic live show and a CD that isn't that isn't gutsy enough.
Yeah.
So with us, it's two ends of the spectrum. We could never play our new stuff exactly how it is on CD live, and we wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
And I feel like our live show has a ton of energy because of that. And the recordings sound the way they do.
Yeah,
which is kind of unusual. Most people are the opposite. Most people would like to get the live vibe when they're in the studio. But maybe it's because we're producers.
Well, I always remember listening to, I can't remember which guitarist it was, but he said, I never play the same lead break twice live.
Yeah.
He said, and that's kind of deliberate. He said, because the feel of the night will dictate how it's going and what we do and how we do it.
We just, our new songs are so complex, we would never have made the album that we have if we'd have been worried about playing them live. It takes us months to figure out how to play a song live, because there's just so much going on in them. Yeah. So I'm glad we do it the way we do. I like it.
Particularly, I would say with the new stuff.
That's exactly I mean, the old stuff was easy. That was written in a room, but with the new stuff,
it was guitar led, wasn't it?
Yeah.
As opposed to.
So with this, we kind of we're going to play this song, and then we sit down in the practice room and go, well, how would we convey this live? That and it's quite it's a fun experience.
So who do you think would you say main songwriter? Is it joint?
Yeah, it's fairly joint. We have we collaborate with a friend of ours called Jake Robbins, who's co-produced it. We have certain kind of roles. Right. It's pretty free flowing and it floats about. So Andy usually writes the initial musical idea in the studio. I'm kind of give it a bit of sort of direction vocally. Jim makes it sound amazing. Yeah. And then we all bounce off each other. A thing that we do a lot of. Well, there's two kind of rules. The first rule is that we will just anything that makes the group in the studio happy, no matter if it seems ridiculous or not. The rule is does this feel good to everyone in here? Yeah, go with it. Yeah. And the second thing is that we do a lot of writing parts for instruments we don't play. So I don't sing very well.
Yeah.
So when I write vocal melodies, they're naturally a bit different to how someone who's singing, and because it removes that muscle memory, you're kind of using your ears a bit more, and that's the same across the board. So like Jim, who will write other instruments. So, but other than that, it's fairly free flowing.
Does he write the majority of the lyrics, or are they shared?
No, it's fairly shared. This time it's a bit different because the new album's based on a book, so we're all kind of sitting around. How can we tell this story? It's very all of us.
Yeah, I'll mention that in a little bit. But I was just thinking, because there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of sentiment.
Yeah, no,
in all of the lyrics.
It's communal. It's completely communal. It's not one person.
Yeah, looking at that, and again, there's a theme that for me definitely comes over, and even to the creation of the tribal community, if you like. That's obviously something that's then passed on to
It's very
the audience.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Okay. So, new single.
Yep.
Okay. Warpaint.
Yep.
Is there a story behind it?
There is. So Warpaint is our album. The easiest way to explain it is in stories, and there's 3 acts. Yeah. And Warpaint is the first song of the final act.
Right.
And so, without revealing too much, I suppose the themes in the song, it's kind of about building something important as a community and then standing up to protect that.
Right. Okay.
And we're excited to release it because we feel like it shows off a different side to us than the first 3 singles. The first 3 were kind of quite melodic and tropical and upbeat, and that's because they're all at the same part of the album. Yeah. This is much more tribal and kind of like.
Is the track, say, on Back from the Dead, going to be Chasing Lions, Passion?
Yes. So they're all on the new album.
The more rhythmic. Stuff.
But those songs all come from a certain point of the album, which is why they have that familiarity. Whereas Warpaint is a sort of separate section for a different part of the story. But it's probably the most fun to play live.
Yeah.
So I'm looking
forward to all of that actually. Okay, and obviously talking about Back from the Dead, even looking at Indoor War. Their concepts, their story albums. Has that always been a purpose, you think, in your writing as a group when you've sat down? Because the thing that I found is equal sort of quote, if you like, that I heard recently was Bowie was talking about writing, and he was saying when he wrote, he found it very difficult to write for himself. But if he imagined a character or imagined a situation, he found that just naturally it was easier to write.
We definitely, that's exactly how we write. I don't really know how we ended up doing it like this, but one good thing about it is that we're singing about community, and it'd be very weird if that was just one person's ideas, because that kind of would be a bit of juxtaposition with the theme.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely easier to write as a group when you're all writing about one fictional story, which is the centre point. You can all sit around the table and everyone has their own interpretation of it, but we're not probing Jim and going, how do you feel about this? Sing about this. How does this make you feel? So I don't know how we ended up coming to this point, but I don't see us writing a different way. It's just what works for us.
Now it's like a collaboration.
That's our thing. And this album is so, the story came first. The book came before any music. So it's not like just some gimmick we tagged onto some songs. Like this is completely like the heart and soul of the new material is this narrative which we created. So
again, I look forward to hearing the other tracks from it as well. I know with Indoor War, seeing that logic against logic and love, basically.
That was it.
Was when I actually sort of looked and listened a little bit more to it, it was a really, really good source of writing.
I think the difference this time is that I think that was like there if you looked for it, but maybe not massively obvious if you didn't know it was there. Whereas this time, I think it's completely like we see it. I think it's more a rock opera or a musical than it is pop songs.
And it's probably been done a little bit more honest.
And open. It's just the heart and soul of it is this story. Which means a lot to us.
Yeah, great. Look forward to that. So what else have we got coming up for 2017? Festival time?
We're on this for about 5 weeks. We've announced 2 festivals already. We've got quite a few more. We're doing that. Actually, have we announced the other one before I say it? But we're doing festivals. We have a headline tour in May.
Yes, obviously that's the Waterfront. May the 11th.
And so that'll take us through May. The first half of our album is going to come out in May, and then festivals through the summer. and then I imagine just touring and releasing,
and then seeing what happens.
Just filling the diary up, basically. Yeah.
Well, again, you're getting busier, more successful.
So we've been essentially in the studio for like 3 years, so we're now like, right, let's go on the tour for a few years as well. So that's kind of it.
Well, I was going to say to you how personally you've changed, because obviously right from school, if you like, straight to this point. What a journey! Fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I'd never really thought about it like that before, but I suppose it is. Yeah,
it's all you know.
Someone was talking to someone in the queue who was talking about university, and I was just like thinking, I wonder what that's like.
Well, anyway, thank you very much for talking to us. Fantastic. Have a great night tonight.
Cheers.
And good luck with everything that comes up in the future.
Cheers, mate.
All right.
Pop scoop.